She told me she was working a night shift at the hospital. I found her laughing in a Cancun photo, dated the same week, wearing a bracelet I had never seen, standing next to a man I had never met. My name is Daniel Cole. I am 36 years old, and I live in Columbus, Ohio. I work as a project manager for a mid-sized construction firm, the kind of job that keeps me busy but never rich. My wife, Renee, worked as a nurse at Mercy General, or at least that was what she told me for the last 3 years. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue back in 2018, and within a year we were married in a small backyard ceremony with maybe 40 guests. She had this laugh that used to fill up a room, and for a long time, I thought I had found the person I would grow old with. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house in a quiet suburb, the kind with a decent school district and neighbors who wave at you from their porches. We had a routine. I worked days, she worked a mix of days and nights at the hospital, and we made it work around each other's schedules. Or so I believed. Her schedule became more erratic over the last year. More night shifts, more weekend shifts, more last-minute calls asking her to cover for someone. I never questioned it because nursing is unpredictable, everyone knows that. I trusted her completely. I never checked her phone. I never asked for details about her co-workers. I just accepted the story she gave me every single time, because why would my wife lie to me about something as simple as her job? The first crack came on a random Tuesday morning. I was scrolling through Facebook during my coffee break at work, and a photo popped up in my memories feed, one that Renee had apparently forgotten to remove from public visibility. It showed her standing on a beach, holding a drink with a little umbrella in it, her arm wrapped around a man I did not recognize. The caption said Cancun getaway, best week ever. The date on the photo was from 4 months earlier, a week I remembered clearly because she had told me she picked up 3 extra night shifts that week to cover for a co-worker who was on maternity leave. I sat there staring at my phone, my coffee going cold, feeling like the floor had shifted under my chair. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe it was an old photo she forgot to delete. Maybe the date was wrong. I wanted so badly to believe that. That night I asked her about it, trying to keep my voice calm. Hey, I saw an old photo of you on a beach somewhere, Cancun I think. When was that from? She barely looked up from her phone. Oh, that was years ago, before we even met. Facebook does that thing where old photos randomly resurface. I nodded, wanting to let it go, but something in my gut refused to settle. That night I could not sleep. I opened Facebook again and looked closer at the photo, at the background, at the resort logo on a napkin sitting on the table. I searched the resort name and cross-referenced it with reviews. The resort had only opened 2 years earlier, which meant there was no way that photo was from before we met. The next few weeks I became someone I did not recognize. I started checking her call logs when she was in the shower. I noticed a name that kept appearing, saved simply as Work Mike. I asked her about him once, casually, and she said he was just a co-worker who covered shifts with her sometimes. I wanted to believe her, I really did, because the alternative meant my entire marriage was a performance. One night she came home at 4 in the morning, claiming a shift ran long. I noticed her hair was freshly styled, not the flat, tired look she usually had after 12 hours on her feet. Long night, I asked. You have no idea, she said, kissing my forehead and heading straight to the shower before I could ask anything else. I started keeping a mental log, dates and times that did not add up, small inconsistencies in the stories she told about her co-workers, shifts that supposedly happened on days the hospital's public schedule board, which I found through a nurse forum online, showed different information entirely. I discovered that Mercy General had actually reduced night shift staffing on 2 of the exact nights she claimed to be working. My hands shook when I found that out. I sat in my car in the driveway for almost an hour before going inside, trying to figure out how to even begin a conversation that could end my marriage. The final piece came from an unexpected place. Renee's sister, Kayla, called me one afternoon, thinking I already knew everything. "Hey, is Renee still seeing that guy from the resort trip? I saw more pictures on her private account," Kayla said, her voice casual, like this was common knowledge. I froze, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "What resort trip, Kayla?" There was a long silence on the other end. "Oh God, you didn't know," she whispered. That was the moment everything I had been trying to convince myself was innocent collapsed completely. When I confronted Renee that night, laying every piece of evidence on the kitchen table, the photo, the call logs, the mismatched shift schedule, the conversation with Kayla, she did not even try to deny it at first. She just sat there staring at the table. "It's not what you think," she finally said, which is what people always say right before it turns out to be exactly what you think. "His name is Mike, we met at a continuing education conference 8 months ago. It started as friendship." I asked her how many times she had lied about working, how many nights she had actually been with him instead of at the hospital. She would not give me a number. "Does it even matter how many times?" she snapped, suddenly defensive, like I was the one who had done something wrong. The days after that were the hardest of my life. I told my parents first, hoping for support, but my mother's first reaction cut deeper than I expected. "Are you sure you weren't neglecting her somehow? Marriages take 2 people, Daniel." My own father added, "Maybe you worked too much and she felt lonely." I sat there in my childhood kitchen, feeling like I was the one on trial instead of the person who had actually broken our marriage vows. Even some of our mutual friends seemed hesitant to fully take my side, worried about staying neutral, worried about awkwardness at future gatherings. I felt like I was drowning in a situation everyone wanted to stay comfortably distant from. I stopped eating properly. I stopped sleeping through the night. I would lie awake replaying every night she claimed to work a shift, wondering how many of those nights were lies, wondering how I had missed something this big for so long. I started questioning my own judgment about everything, my ability to read people, my ability to trust my own eyes. One night I sat on the bathroom floor at 2 in the morning, just staring at the wall, feeling more alone than I had ever felt in my entire life, even though I was technically still living under the same roof as my wife. The turning point came when I found a message on her tablet, which she had left logged into her cloud account by accident. It was a message to Mike, sent just 2 days after I confronted her, saying she needed a little more time to figure out how to handle things with me, but that she still wanted to see him this weekend. That message told me everything I needed to know. She was not confused, she was not caught in a moment of weakness she regretted. She was actively managing 2 lives and I was simply an inconvenience she was trying to schedule around. Something in me went cold and clear at the same time. I stopped crying that night. I started planning instead. I contacted a lawyer the very next morning, a woman named Patricia who specialized in divorce cases involving infidelity. I gathered every piece of evidence I had, the photo, the messages, the call logs, the shift discrepancies, and I documented everything with dates and screenshots before Renee had a chance to delete anything else. I moved money into a separate account, something Patricia advised immediately, since assets can disappear fast once someone knows a divorce is coming. I told Renee calmly, without yelling, without dramatics, that I knew everything and that I was done. She tried the tears, the apologies, the promises to end things with Mike completely, but something in me had already made peace with walking away. The divorce took almost 8 months to finalize. Renee tried at first to paint herself as the victim of a distant husband, but the evidence I had gathered made that narrative fall apart quickly in mediation. My family, once they saw the actual proof, finally understood and apologized for their earlier comments, though those words still stung long after they were spoken. I kept the house, since I had covered most of the down payment myself years earlier, and Renee moved out that same month, eventually moving in with Mike according to people who still kept tabs on her life. It has been almost a year now since the divorce was finalized. I still work the same job, still live in the same house, though I repainted the bedroom and replaced furniture that held too many memories. I started going to therapy, something I resisted for months out of pride, and it has genuinely helped me understand that her choices were never a reflection of my worth as a husband. I have started dating again recently, slowly, carefully, learning to trust again one small step at a time. Some nights I still think about that photo, the one that started everything unraveling, and I realize now it was not the beginning of my pain. It was the beginning of my freedom, even though it took months to see it that way. I did not just survive her lies. I rebuilt an entire life on the other side of them, one honest day at a time.